Texas. 850 miles from Orange to El Paso. 900 miles from Brownsville to Texline. Thousands upon thousands of highways and dirt roads in the middle. Exploring Texas ain't no small vacation, friend. It's a lifetime endeavor. But what if you don't have years, but just one single day? Well, that's where we come in. From the well-known landmarks to the completely obscure dives and hideaways, and all within a day's reach. So let's hit the road. I'm Chet Garner, and this is the Daytripper. This episode was made for y'all with the help of our awesome partners. Check the caption for more info. Imagine a small town nestled along a winding river. Houses so picturesque you feel like you're in a movie. And then you realize, no, wait, I am in a movie, which is always a possibility when you head to Smithville. Smithville! Smithville is only 45 minutes east of Austin, an hour and a half northeast of San Antonio, and 2 hours west of Houston, making Smithville a rare breed and day-trippable from 3 major Texas cities. But today, I don't just want to drive into town like usual, so I've got something else in mind. So as you may recall, we've already made a day trip to the Lost Pines of Bastrop State Park. Good fun. But today, I'm not so much concerned about the trees as I am about the road and the 12 miles of it that separate Bastrop State Park from Bisher State Park, just outside of Smithville. This should be fun. As you may have gathered, I'm more of a mountain biker than a road biker. And part of the reason for that is the large amount of spandex this sport seems to require.
Tight. It feels so breezy. Swift as the wind.
But for you guys, I'm willing to put it all out there. Let's hit the road. Park Road 1C is an astounding and scenic ride through the beautiful Lost Pines of Bastrop County. One narrow strip of concrete cutting through one of the most unique pieces of God's green Texas. These amazing loblolly pines, some towering over 100 feet tall, put a day tripper like me in his place. These were here long before I ever was, and will be here long after I leave. Speaking of putting me in my place, the hills around here are serving me up one huge helping of humility.
It's the Texas Pyrenees.
But every ounce of effort is well worth it. And this ride is truly one of the best in Texas. These things end too soon. That was a fast 12 miles, which has dropped me off right in the middle of Bisher State Park. This 1,000-acre park often plays the quiet younger brother to Bastrop State Park. But if you like the quiet type, and if you're up for a little fishing, it's hard to find anything better. But we're really just passing through, because that 12-mile bike ride landed us just down the road from our day trip destination. But first things first, after all, what's day tripping on an empty stomach? So we're headed to Zimmer Hansel's, metal orange Zimmer Hansels, which at first glance just feels like your average small-town barbecue joint. And in many respects, it is. But to the folks of Smithville, this is their small-town barbecue joint. The best you've ever had?
Yes. Anytime you eat anything else, you have to say it's not quite Zimmer Hansel's.
Yeah,
it's just hard to not compare it to other barbecues.
So this is the high water mark.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Now that's a sign of good barbecue. That is the cleanest plate I've ever seen in my life. So obviously it's good.
Yes, very.
I've been everywhere else and had their barbecue, and I always say it's not as good as my town. So that means Zimmer Hansel's. Sure
Cool.
does.
The locals love Zimmer Hansels, although the area deer population might feel a bit differently. But despite the walls, venison sausage isn't on the menu, as Zimmer Hansel serves up the real deal Texas beef barbecue. So this is Dee Dee Bunty. Thanks for having us here.
Thank y'all for coming.
Maiden name Zimmer Hansel though, right?
Yes.
So who started this? Your family?
My family did, yes. My parents owned Smithville Food Lockers next door They always had a dream of having a barbecue place, so they built this place on the parking lot. When me and my husband got married, we started running it, so 31 years ago.
Wow, that's great. This community seems to love you guys.
Yeah, everybody's real supportive of us.
So supportive, in fact, that when Dee Dee and her husband tried to close the doors in 2008, the community refused to let them stay closed.
And we just realized that we missed it and couldn't really go anywhere without somebody saying, you know, what did you do? Why did you do that? So
Yeah, we want your barbecue.
Yeah, we're glad we came back. It's where we belong, so.
Yeah, they definitely belong here. And I definitely belong out there, enjoying the fruits of their hard labors.
Oh, here we go. Okay, I'm ready for a 3-meat plate. So, brisket, ribs, and sausage.
Okay.
Oh, look at that.
Beef?
Yes, please. Pickles and onions, please.
Okay.
Potato salad and fruit salad.
All right.
Wow, the Zimmer Hansels know how to do it right. Look at this plate. Here's what we've got. It's like the icing on top of the barbecue. We've got beef brisket, pork ribs, and homemade beef sausage. It is really good. It's not as greasy as pork sausage has a tendency to be, but it is just as flavorful. It's got flakes of black pepper. I'd be happy if I only got the sausage. Here's the brisket. Good little bark there on the end. I love it how even if a place gives me silverware, I just ignore it completely. Something about eating barbecue with your fingers. You heard of fall off the bone ribs? What a flavor. Succulent and juicy. And another house specialty, the hot sauce. I don't know how much of this to apply. Yeah, it's got some heat. It's sort of somewhere between barbecue sauce and hot sauce. Somewhere around a jalapeno. I like it. This is the way to reward yourself after a 12-mile bike ride. This barbecue is great, but suddenly I get the feeling somebody's watching me. It is beef. And I think it's time to hit the road. When it comes to small towns, Smithville is about as picturesque as they come. The slow-moving Colorado River, a quaint little main street of original storefronts, and no shortage of antique shops. Lots of antique shops. And no shortage of folks cheering on the local high school football team. Go Tigers! Cruising Smithville is a bit like cruising back in time. Smithville's history boomed around the glory days of the railroad, when the Missouri, Kansas, and Texas line, that's MKT for short, established its central shop here in Smithville. For a look back in time, this downtown park has plenty of railroad remnants from the old days, including this collection of rail cars.
She's a little rusty. I think she's still a pretty good rail car.
And while the railroad may no longer be America's preferred mode of transportation, the railroad industry is still a huge part of Smithville. Just outside of downtown sit block after block of incredible historic homes, some of which you may actually recognize. You see, Smithville's railroad boom may be over, but another one has taken its place, the movie boom. Smithville has become the coolest, hippest hotspot for Hollywood looking to capture the essence of small-town America. You recognize this house? Yep, that's the home from Hope Floats. Oh, you've never seen it? Well, it goes something like this. Sandra Bullock, or should we say Birdie, was the high school cheerleader and the small-town queen of corn. She fell in love with the small-town stud quarterback, and they got married. They moved away to the big city where he dumped her on national TV. Well, Birdie had no choice but to pack her bags and move back home to live with her mom in this old house, thinking that all her hope had sunken to the bottom of the deep, dark ocean. However, in time, she was reacquainted with one dashing young gent with a certain propensity for denim shirts. They fell in love and proved that hope does indeed float, if you let it. That was the abbreviated version, of course, but it's the kind of love story that could only happen in a small town like Smithville. And speaking of famous houses, yeah, that's Brad Pitt's house in the Tree of Life. and I'm not even going to attempt to summarize that one. If you're a movie buff, you'll recognize many parts of Smithville. Here's Honey's Diner from Hope Floats, and an old mural that was painted just for the movies. Neighborhood Pockets Grill is full of memorabilia. But we can't forget about the time when Smithville became world famous for having the largest gingerbread man on the planet. So this isn't the actual gingerbread man, but just the cookie sheet that was used. He was over 20 feet tall, weighed 1,308 pounds, and required over 72 dozen eggs. Don't ask me how I know this stuff, all right? I just have to. Oh yeah, I guess you could read the sign too. Unfortunately, the Norwegians have now stolen the giant gingerbread crown from Smithville, but I think this town still has some spice left in it. Now, I can eat a lot, but to polish this off would require one huge Daytripper.
And chop. Okay.
You know, but on second thought, maybe bigger isn't always better. What if we didn't focus our efforts on huge, but very tiny? It's definitely worked for Tom Tierney of Tomcat Paper Dolls. You remember paper dolls, right? You take a person, any person, and strip them down to their underpants. Then you take paper clothes and dress them however you want. You could have Cowboy Chet or Indian Chet. How about Shakespeare Chet or Space Chet? We'll just stick with Daytripper Chet. Okay, so maybe I shouldn't explain this. I'll just leave it up to the expert, Mr. Tom Tierney.
So what is one, and how did it work? Modern.
A paper doll is you draw a doll,
Okay.
and then you draw clothes to fit it. And this happens to be Hans Christian Andersen. I did this in celebration of his 250th anniversary.
Okay.
And this, the adults in the stories I dressed, and this is him dressed as the emperor in the emperor's clothes.
Dressed or lack of dress.
And I had to be very careful to keep it clean for the
Yeah,
kids.
exactly. His hands are very well placed. So then the tabs.
And the tabs go over the doll to hold the clothes in place when you dress it.
Well, there you go.
Simple as that? Well, not really that simple. Tom puts in hours of research for each and every doll to ensure it's historically accurate. And I guess Obama is a briefs man. And Willie keeps his boots on, even in his skivvies. From the ancient times of Celtic and Baroque fashion to the modern times of TV moms and vampires, Tom's work spans centuries, which is something he's been doing for decades.
How did you get into it?
Started off as a fashion illustrator. In fact, my first career was at Scarborough's in Austin. I worked as a fashion illustrator for their newspaper ads. From there, I went to New York, and I became one of the top fashion illustrators in New York for a long time.
In New York City.
New York City.
Wow.
Fortunately, I had done a paper doll for my mother for a Christmas present of famous movie stars from the 30s. Now, a friend of mine saw it. Turned out he was a literary agent. And that was kind of the beginning of a whole new career.
This interesting profession has taken Tom to some interesting places. He's met and drawn Marilyn Monroe, and even had Joan Crawford as his personal assistant.
How many books have you done total?
Over 500.
Over 500.
And that's not counting the self-published stuff.
What's the most recent one?
I just did this one.
Here.
Movie Mobsters.
A world-renowned artist like Tom, living right here in Smithville. Who knew? Speaking of things you'd never expect out here in small-town Texas, you'd never guess what lies just down the road in the even smaller town of Rosanke.
We now interrupt this programming to remind you to like and subscribe. Now back to the road.
It's a world-class museum collection hiding behind a hand-painted sign and a really long name. The Central Texas Museum of Automotive History. To show us around, I met up with resident car guru, Eric McCowan.
Welcome to the museum.
Wow, this place is huge.
Yeah, you know, you don't expect something like this in the middle of a cow pasture in the middle of Rosanke, Texas, but when you have a few $1 million to throw around, you build something like this for your old car hobby.
Yeah, you need hobbies with millions of dollars to burn.
Yeah.
And this is a pretty good one.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
who's the mastermind behind this place?
A gentleman by the name of Dick Burdick. Used to live next door, so that's why we're out here in the middle of nowhere, basically. About 1980, he built one room for his collection of automobiles. A few years after that, doubled it in size, and we've got about 126 cars in here right now.
Wow, that's awesome. So where do you start in a room like this?
Well, let's start about 1901, 1905 with some old steam engine cars.
Steam engines?
Yeah, Stanley Steamer came out with an automobile, steam-powered car. Back then, you know, that was cutting edge. I like this horn here because you can,
Yeah. So then where to from then? I guess gasoline, obviously, subbed out steam.
You know, one of the first mass-produced cars was the Ford Model T. On these vehicles, you don't have electricity, you have gas-powered lamps here.
Wow, so you like literally strike a match, light your headlamps, and then cruise down the road. This place is unbelievable and a car lover's dream. Beautifully restored cars from the past sit right next to some from the future. Back to the future.
This is the 1984 DeLorean minus the flux capacitor. We have it in the back for special occasions. We need to go check something out, get something authenticized on one of our older vehicles back in the 20s.
Right.
We take
something
this guy out.
breaks and you need to go back to the 1910 to pick up the spare part.
Exactly, yeah. People take pleasure in seeing this guy sitting
Sure. Certainly our generation. That's a special car for us.
Exactly, yeah.
Iconic cars driven by some iconic people. Here's Johnny Cash's Rolls Royce, LBJ's 1964 Lincoln convertible. And this car once drove President Woodrow Wilson. And then there's one of the crown jewels of the collection.
It's a Mercedes Gullwing, 1954 model.
Wow, this is incredible.
Can't give you an exact quote, but it's probably closing up on $750,000 because they're beautiful vehicles. They're just rare.
I've never even been this close to a car this expensive.
Just don't tell the owner, okay?
No one will know. But no matter what any one car is worth, this place is definitely worth the price of admission. Man, a car guy could spend all day here, but we still got more to do, like dinner. So let's cruise back through Smithville and on up the road to the little town of Winchester. A town that was a town, but then was almost not a town, except for the sheer determination of its townsfolk. So what do you do when your town loses its post office and is on the verge of being wiped off the Texas map? Literally. Well, you do everything you can to keep your post office open, even if that means putting it in a steakhouse. Welcome to Murphy's Steakhouse and the Winchester Post Office. A peculiar combination, for sure, and a story I wanted to hear from owners Georgiana and Richard. You guys, I mean, you walk into a place like this, you know it's got history, and so, I mean, fill me in.
The postmaster retired from Winchester. They did not replace him. So they decided to close the post office down. The townspeople of Winchester did not want Winchester to go off the map.
So if it loses its post office, it loses its township?
It loses the township and just becomes a rural route to the main hub of LaGrange.
Wow.
So the townspeople got together and the owner of the building at the time decided to put the post office in here. But we took that over when we took the building over. So Georgiana is now the
just to serve the community. I mean, you know.
You're the postmaster?
I am.
So what does that mean? You just back there sorting mail? Or?
Yes. I get the mail for all the post offices, and I just sort them and put them in.
In between seating people at tables?
Yes. They're like, I'm like, give me a minute.
I got it.
It's a legit post office.
That's a working post office.
Y'all are probably the only steakhouse/post office in the country.
Yeah.
You'll have to. As you can see, the post office is the hottest spot in Winchester. However, I get the feeling folks aren't here for their mail. Now tell me about y'all's recipes, menus.
All our meat is hand cut. We don't buy anything pre-packaged. We get the whole roll of meat and we hand cut all of our meat.
Oh, wow.
Everything is fresh, hand battered. Our onion rings, mushrooms, our chicken tenders, pretty much everything is homemade. I was in the restaurant business previously. I managed one for probably about 15 years when I was much younger. And it was always a dream, but I never thought the dream would come true. But it did.
It has.
So.
Great food mixed with the atmosphere that only an old 1913 general store can provide. You know, it says something about a restaurant when the number of customers on a single night more than triples the population of the entire town.
We've been going here for about 4 years, and the food is always good. Enjoy it. The waitresses are out of this world. Everybody just seems to come in and have a good time and enjoy the food.
Just sort of reeks small town Texas, doesn't it?
It is very small. Yeah.
Excellent food, well prepared. It's warm, and you got people from 3 different communities here generally. Yeah.
So how often do you come in?
They serve 12 meals a week. I probably eat 10 of them.
Seriously?
Yeah. This is my social world here.
So yeah, your family in a sense, right?
Yeah, it is.
So I'm ready to get down to business and taste the food that's drawing this crowd. Oh, thank you very much. I think I'm set. Perfect. I'm good. Thanks. Look at this. I think that's a little bigger than 8 ounces. 9 ounce, 10 ounce, 11 ounce, I'm not real sure. 12 ounce ribeye, roll, baked potato. This is what keeps me day tripping. Bring it on. Oh yeah, that's done right. Medium rare. I love finding places like this. Little local joints, run by good people, full to the brim with good people. Hot potato, hot potato. You know, little towns need places like this. Community meeting places where folks from all over the community come in. They sit in a place that has 100 years worth of history and just enjoy. Talk about the weather, talk about the farm, talk about the meat. I like it. Oh, easy does it. But before this day is done, believe it or not, there's still one other spot in Winchester that I want to see. Why? Well, because the giant finger tells me I need to. Nowadays, the trains roll right past the Winchester Depot, but this day tripper definitely stops. Just a good old-fashioned, quirky little candy store and ice cream shop. And what better way to polish off a Texas day trip than with a cold cone of ice cream scooped by owner Dana Hall. This place is cool.
It's my great-granddad's store. Used to be, and a saloon before then.
A saloon?
Yeah.
It's a little more wholesome now.
A little bit, yeah. It's kind of rough back then. But when I first got it, there were bullet holes in the ceilings, and we did open it up, and my family, it helps me out a lot.
Well, this ice cream is delicious.
Well, I'm glad.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And of course, it's Bluebell. This day just couldn't get any better. From the Hollywood big time to small town Texas, this trip epitomizes what makes Texas so wonderful. The nature, the food, the people, and the unexpected. Wow, it's been quite a day. I started on a road bike and ended up on a trusted steed. So I will see all you out on the road. Vaya con Dios, amigos.
No.
Ah, come on, that was cruel. Is that guava? I like it. Zim zam, zippity doo. Get on down to Zimmer Hansel's. They should pay me to write their jingle. Zim zam, zippity zim zim zimmer. That's all I got. All right, turn it off. Skirt's falling down.
Look at him, not the camera.
Oh, yeah.
What's your name? Your belly's got a shoulder.
Wait, I'm not even wearing my wig.
What have you been doing?
Go, Smithville Tigers. Just fight to win. Roar! Get them! Kill them! Smash their heads! I can't. All right. Howdy, y'all. Follow along with my adventures at Chet Tripper on Instagram and at the Daytripper TV on Facebook and YouTube. Or head to thedaytripper.com for travel guides, past episodes, and info on our mobile app and Team Daytripper. This episode was made for y'all with the help of our awesome partners. Check the caption for more info. Howdy, y'all. Chet the Daytripper here. Thanks so much for tripping with us. Remember, while you're here, like this video, subscribe to our channel so that we can stay out there on the road and keep on tripping. Did we miss anything in this town? Leave us a comment, let us know. We love finding out about new stops with all of your tips. And if you love Epic Texas Day Trips, remember to check our channel. We got a lot of them on there. Also,
Don't forget, if you want some sweet Daytripper merch or another cool Texas-made product, come see us in Georgetown at the Daytripper World Headquarters. You can also shop online if you check the link down there in the caption. All right, y'all. Bye con Dios, amigos.